Hi, I'm Lizzie Dearden. I'm the Independent's Home Affairs correspondent, and I'm currently at the Royal Courts of Justice, where representatives of Tommy Robinson have launched an appeal against his prison sentence for contempt of court. Behind me you can see the entrance to the Royal Courts of Justice, which includes the Court of Appeal, and that is where the case has been happening today. I hope you can hear me okay. We're by a very busy road in central London, so unfortunately there will be a lot of background noise, but I'll keep that to a minimum. I will just turn you round so you can see some of the protesters that have gathered here today in support of Tommy Robinson. Hi to everyone joining us. Just to confirm that we're outside London's Court of Appeal, where we've been following Tommy Robinson's case today. Here is the scene outside at the moment. There was a larger group of protesters outside earlier before the hearing began at 10:30. But obviously it's been some hours now, so many of them have gone home. Several supporters of Mr Robinson were also in the court themselves to hear proceedings, and at the moment the Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales has sent everyone out on a lunch break to return at 2 o'clock. So just to give you all some information on what we've heard today, the barrister acting for Mr Robinson, who is currently serving a 13-month prison sentence for contempt of court, is trying to get him freed on the basis that several legal procedures were not followed in the cases that resulted in him being found in contempt of court, both at Canterbury Crown Court last year and at Leeds Crown Court in May. For the people listening who aren't British, contempt of court is a host of British laws that aim to safeguard criminal trials. So they aim to make sure that the jury who will decide on the verdicts in those trials aren't swayed by anything they hear outside the courtroom, and that justice can be done to those defendants whether they're found innocent or guilty. So Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, has been found in violation of those laws twice. The first case was during a rape trial at Canterbury Crown Court, where he broadcast a video from within the court precincts, and that is illegal. It is illegal to film inside a British court, and a judge said that he had sought to film the defendants and jurors, and that for that reason the trial had been put at risk. But she sentenced him to 3 months in prison, but she suspended it, meaning that he wouldn't have to serve that sentence unless he committed any crimes in the next 18 months. So then in May of this year, there was another trial at Leeds Crown Court that was subject to a blanket reporting restriction under Section 4 of the Contempt of Court Act. That means that we still can't discuss what was happening in that trial and the trials linked to it, and that anyone on any format on social media or in any other medium publishing the details of those proceedings is in contempt of court. Robinson came in contempt by broadcasting a Facebook Live video from outside Leeds Crown Court, where he discussed details of that case. The judge in that case, Geoffrey Marson QC, judged that to be a breach of the Section 4 reporting restriction that he had imposed, and on the day he summarily jailed Robinson for 13 months. And that is really where the argument for Robinson's legal team comes in. They say that when Robinson was jailed in Leeds, he should not have been heard summarily. They argue that his legal team was not given the adequate opportunity to put forward factors that might influence the sentence and lower it, and they argue that the way he was treated meant that the offence was not adequately explained to him. In his sentencing remarks, Judge Marson said that Robinson had admitted committing contempt of court, but his new representatives, who are different from the barrister that represented him at the time, have argued whether that might not have been the case. They argued that the precise way in which contempt of court was committed was not put to Robinson in a way that he might be able to understand fully or contest or respond to, and so they're calling for that finding to be overturned completely. They also argue that in the Canterbury case there were aspects of the criminal procedure rules that were not followed, and in the Leeds case as well, and for that reason they argue that both findings of contempt should be quashed and that Robinson should be freed from prison of immediate effect. His representatives also made some arguments about the way he's been kept in prison. They said that at HMP only, which is where he's currently being held after being transferred from Hull, that he's being held in conditions tantamount to solitary confinement. The Lord Chief Justice, who is one of 3 judges hearing this case, did point out that the reason for the conditions he's being held in, one, are not something that would have an effect on the original finding in the case, that they would be a matter for the prison service itself. And Mr. Robinson's barrister did concede that the prison appeared to be acting in good faith about Mr. Robinson's safety. So they have been concerned that he could be targeted by other prisoners. And so at the moment the court heard that he is only allowed out of his cell when other prisoners are locked up, that the time he gets in the prison yard is limited, and that he has limited access to phones, education, rehabilitation and other aspects of regime that would be commonly offered to other prisoners as a result. So those are the arguments made by Robinson's team. To reiterate, they want him freed from prison, and they also want the original findings of contempt in both Leeds and Canterbury to be quashed on technical arguments about the way criminal procedures may or may not have been followed and the bearing that that may have had on the judge's findings at the time. The 3 judges that will rule on it haven't made any decision yet. They might make a decision today, or they could reserve judgment until a later date, which means that it could be days or weeks until we find out their decision on the case. They have the power to free Robinson, or they could lower his sentence, and there is also an outside chance that they could increase it, but that is an unlikely option. And there is no one in the court opposing the appeal. There has been an independent barrister who was instructed by the Attorney General, but he is there at what's termed the disposal of the court to advise them and help them on objective legal matters, rather than to argue to keep Robinson in prison or express any sort of legal or personal opinion on the case. So this afternoon we'll be going back in at 2 o'clock to hear what happens. If you go to the live blog that's currently on independent.co.uk, there will be all the latest updates there, and at the end of the day I will sum up the findings of today's case in a story that you can all read as well. So I'll just give you one last view from outside the court, and then I will be going. So thank you everyone for listening. I'm very sorry if you're just tuning in, but we are about to end this live broadcast. If you'd like to follow the live blog at independent.co.uk, that will be bringing you the latest updates as we have them when the hearing resumes at 2 p.m. Thank you very much for listening.